right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Packard Street Improvement Public Meeting. My name is Jasmine, and I'm the Community Specialist with the city and for this project. So we're going to go ahead and get started this evening, share with you all a little bit about this project here on Packard Street. And then at the end of the session, we'll leave some time to answer questions. So let's get started.
Andy, do you want to advance the slides?
So just a quick technology overview. If you're not familiar with Zoom, or if you are, at the bottom of your screen or phone or computer, there is a Q&A button. You can click that button anytime during the session and submit a question. Feel free to do that throughout the session, and at the end of the session, we will answer those questions live. So just drop them in as they come to you. So next slide, please. So before we get started, some meeting etiquette as well. Projects, we all have our different thoughts and feelings about projects, but ultimately we're here to learn, to be curious and not judgmental and focus on the big ideas. We want to make sure we treat everyone with respect throughout these meetings with our questions, that we're challenging the ideas and not the people. And it's totally okay if you don't agree with the topic, but we just ask to speak with care and use our words because they can impact others. We want to make this a collaborative, cooperative session. And so these few etiquettes can help us accomplish that goal. Next slide. So one of the things that we strive to do with most all of our public projects is to have public engagement. We do that through a variety of different means, through focus groups, through online virtual meetings, in-person meetings. So that's exactly what we're here to do tonight with you all, to provide more information to our stakeholders or those who will be affected by this project. And you may have received a postcard, you may have visited our website, and ultimately led you here to tonight's meeting. So thank you for coming, and we hope that this session will be super informative to you and that we can answer any of your questions. Next slide. So just a quick look at what we're going to accomplish tonight. You're going to meet our project staff, those who are on the team, both city and consultant wide. We're going to check out the project design, its limits, its purpose, some elements of the project, and the schedule of how the project will move forward. We're going to talk about some traffic detours that you may be experienced during the project, and ultimately, my favorite part, answering any questions or concerns that you guys may have. Next slide. So you guys have already met me. I am this community engagement specialist, Jasmine Isaac, and I'm going to turn it over to our other staff to introduce themselves and to continue telling you more about the Packard Improvement Project. So Chris?
Yep. Thanks, Jasmine. So I'm Chris Wall. I'm with Wade Trim, but I'm the designated city project manager. Nick Hutchinson is also shown on this slide. He's not with us for this meeting, but he is a city engineer, also can be a contact if questions arise on the project. Next slide, please, Andy. Also with the Wade Trim team, we have Vaughn Martin, who is the Wade Trim project manager. His email's here. He's also on the call. We also have Andrew Casper, Andy, who is our design manager. Andy, you'll hear from him here shortly. He's going to walk through some slides with us. And then we also have Carmel Tremblay, who is our quality manager, who is also on the call. So next slide, Andy. Thank you. So a little bit about the project area, Packard Street. The length of the project is about just over half mile. It starts on the west side at South Main Street, runs all the way down to State Street. And as if you're in the area, you're pretty familiar with this location. There's a lot of housing along the street, but there's also some businesses and some U of M property adjacent to it. Most of the road is like a 2-lane road that has bike lanes on both sides of it. It's also, the corridor is a tier 1 safety corridor. So that means we're trying to provide all ages and abilities bicycle corridor through there. Next slide, please. So part of this project, we're trying to accomplish some of the city goals that are set forth. One is the Vision Zero goal. So by 2025, no one dies or is seriously injured in crashes on Ann Arbor Street. So as part of this project, we're trying to improve those bike lanes, also add some special emphasis crosswalks, And then we're looking at a couple intersections at adding some bump outs, which will help reduce the crossing width of a road for pedestrians across. So by improving the safety for pedestrians there. Another goal is the A20 initiative for carbon neutrality. So by 2030, our transportation system contributes zero emissions towards climate change. And so by promoting those bike lanes and use of the sidewalks, we're promoting green modes of travel, which also helps reduce emissions because less vehicle use. Next slide, please. So some of the project highlights include a new 12-inch water main through the entire length. Currently out there, there exists a 6-inch, 8-inch in some place water main that's reached its age limit, and we need to install and replace that water main with a larger diameter 12-inch water main to meet the demands of the buildings and community in that area. Also, if you've driven that road, you know how poor that pavement is, and so we're replacing the road surface. Some of the sidewalk ramps, if they're not compliant for ADA compliant, which is American Disabilities Act, we'll review those and improve some of those sidewalk ramps. We're also reviewing those bike lane improvements and going to make those permanent. We're reviewing signing and pavement markings, and we'll make some improvements to those. We're also looking at upgrades for signals at 4th and 5th intersection, including APS, which is audible pedestrian signals. And we're also, the signal that's at South Main Street, we're also looking at installing that APS as well. And then, as I mentioned, there's some bump outs that we'll be looking at installing too. And Andy will go through some details in that in the next few slides here. You want me to, is this my slide or your slide, Andy? I can't remember. Mine?
It doesn't matter. I can take it from here.
Yeah, you take it.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, so right now our current timeline looks something like this. So we're currently in the design phase. We're working through the design. We're looking at the various elements that Chris discussed, and we're looking for opportunities to improve things. We anticipate the design phase will wrap up by the end of this year. The project will go out to bidding sometime between November and January, and the city will receive bids, and this will get to construction in spring of next year. We anticipate the construction will last all season, so it'll probably wrap up preliminarily in November of 2025, or excuse me, 2026, and we will expect final completion, which is basically like final touch-ups and landscape restoration, to take place in the spring of 2027. The big impacts that we want you all to be aware of is safety concerns, noise and dust produced by the construction operations. There's going to be some heavy equipment out there moving earth around, installing aggregate and pavements, and this is going to generate a lot of noise and a lot of dust for you all to be aware of. There will be regular traffic interruptions, and I have some slides that I'm going to talk through regarding the traffic interruptions and the detour routes that we're going to put in place, but traffic will be interrupted for vehicles, pedestrians, and bicycles, and we will detour all of those modes of traffic. Business access, parking, and deliveries are a concern. This is particularly near State Street, where that first block there on the north side, there's a couple of parking spaces and there's a loading zone there. We will work with businesses to provide access for their deliveries, and do whatever we can to accommodate those folks. The other big thing to be aware of is water service interruptions, and you will be receiving notices in advance of any water service interruption, but you can expect that your water service will be shut off during the water main installation. Water will be turned on at the end of every day, however. So this is a high-level overview of the project. we emphasize the pavement markings so that you all can see exactly what we're looking at. This is a top-down view of the project. And basically it starts at South Main on the left here, and it continues to the east until we get to State. The APS signals that Chris mentioned at South Main can be seen called out here. The bump outs at 4th and 5th, and also the upgraded signals at 4th and 5th with the APS. Just continuing along the line here to the east, this is from 5th to Division, from Division to Cross, from Cross to State. As you can see, we're gapping Hill. We will be improving pavement markings through Hill, but we won't be touching any of the pavement within Hill. And then here at State Street, you can see where we're installing the permanent pavement markings, and we're adding this this green stripe along the north side. It might be unfamiliar to folks, but that is a conflict area, and that's to help keep the bicycle traffic safe. This is what our maintenance of traffic is going to look like. So these are the detours that we're currently working on. These are subject to change, that they are preliminary, but this is the general gist of what we're going with during phase 1. Well, I should back up. So we're going to divide the project into 2 phases. Phase 1 will be from South Main to Division, and phase 2 will be from Division to State. These will be 2 distinct phases of operation. Work will, although there will be some overlap between the phases, for the most part, work will take place distinctly within this phase and then distinctly within the next phase. And during phase 1, we're basically looking at routing. We're going to close the road entirely, and we're going to be routing westbound traffic up along Division Street, along William, and then south along South Main. And then eastbound traffic will be routed along South Main and along Hill Street. For phase 2, it's similar. So we're going to be routing westbound traffic along State up to William and then south. And then for eastbound traffic, we'll be routing them south along 5th to Hill and then east to State. We do have a project website for this project, so please take a look at it. If you're interested in regular project updates, this is the place that you can find them. There's also some contact information there for Chris Wall, who is also on this call. And that's pretty much all that we have for our presentation. Would
Andy,
Chris, oh yeah, what do you got?
I was going to suggest maybe going back to those detail slides and just kind of walking through those real quick, or maybe not as quick, but maybe go to the phase 1 at South. Yeah. And just kind of talk about, are the curb lines changing, just to give a little bit more context? How does this compare to the existing laneage? It's pretty similar to what it is today, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, thanks, Chris. So essentially, we're not going to be realigning any curbs. We will be installing bump outs at 4th and 5th, but these bump outs are going to be similar to the bump outs that you see at William and South Main. These are going to be flush with the pavement, and basically the purpose is just to create a visual deterrent for vehicle traffic to stay out of the bike lanes and out of the sidewalks as pedestrians cross them.
So like the red lines that you showed are the curb lines right now.
Yes.
The existing, and are very similar to what the proposed curb lines are going to be.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So we don't plan to realign any curbs out there. It's basically going to go right back the way it is. And same for the pavement markings, right? So the city installed what they call a quick build a couple of years ago. And basically that's the pavement markings that you see out there today with the bike lanes, the dedicated bike lanes. And basically the intent here is, after we remove and replace the pavement, we're going to reinstall those pavement markings exactly how they are. For the most part, we are going to be making a few improvements here and there. For example, the big improvement on this slide that you can see is on the left side. It is the green bike box at the South Main intersection there. And the purpose of that bike box is, so that's a no turn on red intersection. The purpose of that bike box is to allow bicyclists to pull up and get in front of the vehicle traffic for their protection.
Okay, maybe move to the next.
Yeah.
And same thing here, the curb lines kind of stay the same.
Yeah, that's right. So we're not changing any curb lines. On the next slide, there's something important to point out. So here at the Division and Madison intersection on the left-hand side there, U of M does have a major development that's going to be taking place concurrent with this project. And we're not exactly sure what that looks like right now. U of M is still working out the details, but we are coordinating this project with them. And we will, we're on board to basically make whatever their improvements are there consistent with our project.
Okay. And kind of the same here.
Yeah.
Kind of. And then in terms of one last thing, because we had a meeting earlier with the DDA who oversees some of the parking spaces and the loading zone. Could you restate the impact to those spaces?
Yeah, so those spaces are going to be closed during this phase of the project, but we will work with businesses to accommodate their loading, right, and unloading of deliveries. The big thing here to point out, and I think I mentioned it earlier, is that green stripe along the north side there near State. We're adding that, and that is a visual deterrent to protect bicyclists in the bike lane. It's basically a conflict area, or it's called a conflict area. It lets vehicle traffic know that that's a bike lane, and hey, you better watch out. There might be some bicyclists as you're pulling out of those parking spaces.
But in terms of the spaces and loading zone, what exists today is going to remain.
Yes, that's
the future.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. All right. Thanks for walking through that with me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah.
One other thing I just wanted to mention, you might have already said this, Andy, but just that there is, at the same time as the vehicle detour, there will be a bicycle detour.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to be detouring all modes of traffic for this project because of the various sidewalk ramp improvements. Sidewalks are going to be inaccessible, or I should say the ramps at the intersections will be inaccessible. So we will be detouring foot traffic, bicycle traffic, and vehicle traffic throughout this project.
It should be mentioned, though, that anybody that has like a local residence or a business, their local traffic will have access to their property.
Yes.
During construction.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Any other tidbits before we open up to Q&A?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about the existence of the trolley track potential under the portions of the road, and just this morning on a separate project, it was brought up that everywhere that we think that these tracks are, they everywhere that the history shows that these tracks existed, we find them. So there's high probability that we're going to encounter those trolley tracks, but we've accounted for it in our drawings, and we always approach it as if we may not encounter them, but we haven't had that luck yet. So this seems to always be present.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so Chris, Carmel, or Vaughn, if you have nothing else to add, I guess we'd like to open the floor to questions.
Yes, so we have a question from Greg Moore. He said, what is the black squares along the sidewalk at the State Packard intersection, the west side?
Is that just sidewalk replacement, Andy?
I'm not sure. Can you guys see my cursor?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Is it these?
Here, I can ask Greg to speak so he can share aloud. So Greg, I'll open your mic and, oh, he said, yes, that is it.
Okay. Yeah, so these are areas of potential improvement. We're looking at possibly improving these sidewalks. We found that they're deteriorated, and we're going to remove and replace some of the curb and gutter through there. So we're going to be making impacts to that sidewalk and we'll improve them.
So that was the only question we received, but I'll wait a few minutes to see if anybody has any more questions.
Yeah.
So feel free to drop those in. He also asked, how about the red dots that are next to them? What do those represent?
I'm not entirely sure. Those are something that showed up in the CAD drawing. In terms of construction, they don't represent anything.
It looks like they might be our symbols for, like our CAD symbols for street light and
Oh,
signal
okay.
pole.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect. He says thanks. So again, there's no questions right now, but I'll leave the floor open for 2 or 3 minutes in case people are typing. However, if you don't have any questions, then you are totally free to exit the session. We're going to end it here. And you can find these materials online if you ever want to go back through them. The slideshow will be posted, and also a recording of this video if you want to share it with somebody else in your area. So we'll leave the floor open for 2 minutes and then feel free to exit if you don't have any questions. All right. So we're going to end our session here. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And if you have any questions, you can always email to our project manager, Chris Wall. His contact information is on the webpage. So thank you again so much and have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for joining us.